Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrienne Berg, and this is the Ageless Traveler. And I'm here righting a wrong. What is the wrong? Well, I don't think we have concentrated enough on the Tyrol, on Austria, on the Dolomites, which apparently is the Dolomites, but we'll discuss that with our eminent guest. She's not only one of the leading travel writers, you've read many of her things, I am sure. If you know Travel Talk, you definitely know Jeanne Neylon Decker. And I just had a wonderful experience in a wellness environment going to Arkansas with her with the North American Travel Journalists Association. So I'm going to talk about and dish a little bit about that as well. But really, we're going to be talking a lot about Central Europe, Northern Italy, and places that you could go that are really wellness oriented in the old fashioned sense, and yet with all the new bells and whistles that really make longevity travel worthwhile. So thank you, Jeannie, I like to call you, for
Yes.
being with us today.
Thanks for having me here. I'm excited
And
to chat about this.
I particularly thank you because I know you got off the plane very late last night. We all had trouble getting back from Arkansas, but the fact is we had a wonderful time. But
Yes, we
I,
did.
I do want to delve into this. Now, for Travel Talk, you very frequently cover wellness travel, and everybody's got a different definition of it. What's the Decker definition of a wellness
Of
trip?
wellness travel. Well, I like to approach wellness travel from a holistic point of view. What soothes your soul and enhances your experiences. Travel can be very stressful, as we all know. And the wellness approach is to go to fascinating destinations and take care of yourself. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, a week at a resort where you don't do anything. My idea is to go to places where wellness is incorporated in daily living. And I think you find that very strongly in the culture of the Tyrol in Austria, in Germany, where people really embrace an outdoor lifestyle. And at the end of a long day of hiking, they get into the sauna and just really relax. And that's my idea of wellness travel.
Well, it's beautifully said, and that's why I said this is an old-fashioned concept because we keep talking about the blue zones where everybody lives past 100 and they're very self-conscious about it. This is different. This is, as you say, part of the routine of people all the time. So I wanted to focus first on the Tyrol because it is a place that not everybody associates with wellness, but it is the fabric of their life. So tell us some hints and tips of what you've enjoyed the most, and feel free to tell us where to stay and what to eat if that's part of
Okay.
your wellness experience.
That is. Well, the first time I ever went to the Tyrol was probably, it was before COVID, so it was probably around 2018. And we stayed right outside of the town of Bolzano, which is a fairly large size city for that area. And one thing to remember about the Tyrol, it is an autonomous region of Italy. It was part of Austria up until the end of World War I when the Italians were seated it. And so people in that region speak German as their first language. They speak Italian as well because they all learn it in school. A lot of people speak English. It's considered a linguistic island because they also speak Latin, Ladin.
Uh-huh.
So you'll find it not even throughout that region, just in certain valleys and areas. So when we went to Bolzano, we took the tram up and we visited the Earth pyramids and had hikes around in that area. And it was really beautiful, but it really encouraged me to want to do more, to go further up into the mountains and see what was there. So I'm just actually booked my sixth time. I've been going to Ordisee, charming Tyrolean town in the Val Gardena, and there are just a few small towns in that area, but it's also where they have the World Cup of skiing. So a lot of people have known about it for a very long time because of the association with championship skiing world. But we started going in the autumn to go hiking. And you hike on a lot of the same trails that these world-class professional skiers go on. And there's the place that we stay is called the Adler Balance. They also have the Adler Dolomiti, which is more family oriented. No children stay at the Adler Balance. You have to be an adult to stay there. And the reason I love it so much is because it's an elegant property. It's a beautiful property. A great deal of attention is paid to sustainability. They are very protective of their resources. The rooms are light, large. There's a lot of wood and natural materials used in the construction. And all the rooms at the Balance have balconies that look out over the mountains, over those beautiful Dolomites, and up to the Alpi di Siusi, which is the largest alpine meadow in Europe. And it's another place that we like to go hiking when we're there. And one of the other reasons that we like the Adler properties so well is because they also include daily activities, guided hikes at several different levels, guided e-bike tours at several levels. They have yoga classes. They have neep walks, which is when you take off your shoes and socks and you walk in different temperature water on rocks and things like that, which is very soothing and good for your body. They have Tibetan sound baths several days a week at the end of the day. They've got a world-class spa, which is incredible. That's not included. You pay a little extra for that, but it's worth every nickel or every euro. And
Right.
they also have a beautiful sauna pavilion with numerous sauna at different temperatures, because in that part of the world, sauna is an important part of everyday living.
Yes, every day there's a sauna. Yes.
Every day is a sauna. And we had the wonderful experience of discovering Aufgas while we were there. And what Aufgas is it's a superheated sauna that includes aromatherapy and music. And they're led by specially trained Aufgasmeisters. In my experience, these Aufgasmeisters are typically men, very athletic, very balletic, and you follow them into the room. They have a large wooden bucket full of what looks like snowballs. And inside each of the snowballs is a magnificent fragrance. It could be pine, it could be citrus, it could be lavender, it could be mountain herbs. It's a combination of things. And then they have the music to suit whatever the theme of that day's Aufgas is. And at the Adler, they do two every afternoon. So you have a choice. And then they use these large fans and special towels to move the hot air around in the sauna.
I'm so relaxed now just listening to all of this. This is a beautiful thing. Again, they're not creating something brand new just because they've got the technology for it. This is really natural grassroots health and wellness. And that's something that even if you pay top dollar at some of these new type spas, you're going to get the AI treatment, not the old-fashioned sauna treatment. We come back. I want to revisit any of the other features that you think we should know about, because I think we're all drooling already to get on the plane. But I do want to know when we come back a little bit about the food and the cuisine. So don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back. If you've been thinking about a cruise, I've definitely got you covered with Cruises It. Now, we have just become affiliated with them. And who are they? Well, Cruises It is the top agency for all the main cruise lines and some of the less known cruise lines as well. Cruises It has access to booking space that's been open years in advance, so you can get the best cabins, and that's just number one. But they also make the prices lower. The cruise lines give Cruises It their own exclusive agency discounts. And if you're not from the cruise line, they have their own agency discounts that would apply as well. So you get both any discounts you would normally get on the cruise line, plus additional discounts that are given exclusively to Cruises It because they bring in so much business. On top of all those discount perks, when you book with them, you get the best rate guaranteed. And this is because Cruise Fare Watch system takes place. Now, what Cruises It does is it tracks the pricing until the final payment date. So you keep in mind that to get the best rate guaranteed, you have to use my site. We have affiliated with them specifically. I sat down, I met with them in Tucson, Arizona. I met with Marianne Weather. We've now become good friends. She gave me a direct line. Not only a link, which you can certainly use right away, but if you have questions, even a specific phone number. Cruises It offers this not just to anyone that is one of our followers, If you have friends and family, you can bring them in too. So just take a look at the show notes and you will see our dedicated phone line and our dedicated link. Happy sailing. And now we're back and we're really talking travel. Sometimes we talk about barriers to travel or how to work with a companion that is not in the same league as you when it comes to athleticism and other issues of aging and travel. But this show with the creator of Travel Talk, and you're going to hear in a minute how you can subscribe to her wonderful newsletter and find her website, Jeanne Neylon Decker. And we're talking real travel here, old-fashioned wellness travel. If I were going to look in the map, where would I fly into?
I think, well, for us, we typically will fly into either Milan or Venice, and it's about a 3.5 hour drive from either way. It is possible to take public transit, but it's a little tricky because you'd have to take several trains and then a bus. The last time we went in this past October, we were with two other couples. We flew into Venice and we had the Adler Balance send a car for us. So they sent a little van and took the six of us up into the mountains. It was a delightful 3.5 hours, being able to enjoy the scenery. And I think we paid $200 a couple to go up there. And it was perfect, door-to-door service. And it's such a beautiful, breathtakingly beautiful area. It was delightful to be able to just sit back and relax and look out the window.
Well, that's terrific. Now, you were giving us the features and some of the different treatments that they have. And
Yes.
I've been to so many spas. I live in Palm Springs, where our Sek He Spa has been named the best in the United States for a couple of years in a row. So I know the best of the best in this tech style wellness and longevity, but this is very different. So that was a wonderful idea of the sauna every day and the beautiful work that's done with both music and scent, hitting all the senses. What else are your favorites there? Because part of it too usually is the cuisine.
That's very true. I also do want to mention they have fantastic swimming pools that are indoor, outdoor. You swim up, wave your arm, and then you're outside. And depending on the time of year you're there, the heated pools, you'll be relaxing in the pool and the steam is rising, and there's snow on the mountaintops all around you, and it is just magical. Just magical.
Beautiful.
So, and of course, you work up quite an appetite when you're out there hiking and e-biking and doing all the fun outdoorsy things that we can do in that area. So when we come back, it's always time for first an aperitivo because it's very European. You have to have a little something and, maybe a few olives or some nuts, something very small before you go to dinner. And at Adler Balance and Adler Dolomiti, they offer a half board, which I think if for most Americans, you'd be like, oh, eating in the hotel, I don't know about that. But in fact, it is gourmet quality meals. And you typically there'll be a choice of entrees, there'll be a choice of appetizers before that. There'll also be a sort of a buffet setup where you can help yourself to salads and cheese. Then you're sitting in a very elegant dining room and you're choosing from your appetizer. Then the entrees, which will be meat or fish or vegetarian, and then there'll be desserts, there'll be cheeses. And also, if you're staying at the Balance rather than the Dolomiti, they have a wellness menu. So the wellness menus are very light on fats and meat and very much vegetable centric and absolutely delicious. And it could be anything from, like a carrot soup that's made with no dairy whatsoever. And they do accommodate, by the way, vegan and food allergies that people might have. So that's entirely likely because I think a lot of people, when they think of the Tyrol or the, Sud Tyrol, they're thinking venison and sausages and really
German
hard
food, what we would call
German
heavy
food.
German food, potatoes.
Right. That's very typical in Bavaria and in other parts of Germany and Austria, and to some extent in the Dolomites as well. But they also have the Italian flavor. So it's not unusual to have a delightful risotto made with mushrooms or a beautiful fish preparation or handmade pastas, gnocchi, raviolis stuffed with mountain cheeses, things of that nature. The food up there is absolutely remarkable. The cuisine of that area is a beautiful blend of both Italian and Germanic cuisine. And,
Yes,
and as a
I spent a lot of time in the Alps, and there's a very big difference. The Swiss Alps is very Germanic, and so roasty potatoes and raclette, fondue, that's the land of that, and of course, all kinds of meats. But then you've got the Italian Alps, where I love to go to Aosta, which is a
oh,
wonderful place,
yes.
yes, to eat. And there you have the great desserts, chocolate over figs. It's a very, very different. So it's reminding me of that combination that you can have there, as well as the wellness cuisine. Now, all of this is terrific, and it's the kind of thing that we're ready to do. Most people who are listening to the show have been to a lot of places in Europe, and these are new places for them to go. I was able to drive actually from Trieste into what I call the Dolomites, but you don't. What do you tell everybody what you call those mountain ranges?
The Dolomiti.
The
That's
Dolomiti.
what the Italians call them, the Dolomiti.
So very authentic.
Yeah,
Right. And they do have wine trails and so on for those of you who want to follow that.
very much so.
Now we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back and really flip the script for a few minutes because you also just came back from Bentonville, Arkansas.
Yes, I did.
I know that because I took the familiarization trip and wrote about it in tomorrow's Travel Tuesday newsletter that hopefully most of our listeners will be getting. And I took the hot springs trip. So they'll learn all about that in my narrative. But Bentonville, we have to hear from you. So don't you guys go anywhere. We're taking you to Arkansas and the Tyrol. Can you imagine? We'll be right back. If you take long trips or travel through different climate zones the way I do, you don't want to schlep a lot of luggage. Well, luggage free ships to many of the hotels in the world and mostly all the cruise ships. I've been recommending luggage free for years to my friends and family, and I always hear the best rave reviews. So you visit agelesstraveler.com products and services to access luggage free, get all the information, and stop schlepping. And we're here once again. This is Adrienne Berg, and this is the Ageless Traveler. And of course, we do want you to be part of all that we do. And the easiest way is simply to go to our website, agelesstraveler.com, and get our free newsletter, Travel Tuesday. Now, we're here with travel writer, journalist, Jeanne Neylon Decker, who also has a wonderful offer for you, a free newsletter. Travel Talk is her website. You'll see that in the show notes. We'll talk a little bit first, Jeanne, about what's in that newsletter and what they can look forward to when they subscribe to it, and I hope they all will. And then we'll go back to your latest sojourn in Bentonville, Arkansas. But first, tell us a little bit about Travel Talk.
Okay, Travel Talk it's a website, and what I cover are the best things in life, basically. Art, architecture, food, wine, wellness, culture, a little history, and there's always a touch of luxury in all of my stories. And I write about Europe, European destinations, and North America. And what I try to do for my readers is find them interesting places to go that are not difficult to get to. I like to give people surprises, things that they may not have thought about, places they might not have considered visiting. I also cover major cities that everybody wants to go to, like Rome, for example. So instead of just writing about the Forum and the Vatican and that sort of thing, I'm giving my readers insight into where they can go and not fight the crowds and also experience the incredible antiquities and history of Imperial Rome. I'm telling them where they can go sort of, well, when I started hiking in the Dolomites, it wasn't that popular. People skied there, but they weren't going to hike. Now that has changed significantly, particularly in the summer months. I also recommend to my readers that they travel in the shoulder seasons. There's no real off season anymore, as anyone who's been out in the world lately fully knows. So those are the kinds of things I like to let my readers know about, interesting exhibitions and museums they might not have considered. Right now, getting ready to write a bunch about Zagreb, Zadar, and the Istrian Peninsula in Croatia. Everybody's going to Dubrovnik, but I think there are far more interesting places to visit that you're not going to be finding the
Yeah.
crowds like you will there.
I've enjoyed Croatia, but I have been highlighting Montenegro. Again, you get some similar culture. You have a very different recent culture with regard to the two. But I don't want Bosnia and Montenegro to be left out. So these are again becoming very trendy, very popular, mostly because of us, the ageless travelers who have been to Paris. They don't need anybody to tell them what to see in Paris anymore. They can tell others. So you do need exactly what Travel Talk does, which is the hidden, the unusual, and the know-how. So, in terms of North America, we have just experienced something quite interesting together, and that is the great state of Arkansas, which they call the natural state. But you went to Bentonville. Tell us
Yes,
a
I
little bit
did.
about that.
Well, Bentonville was a wonderful surprise. I was particularly interested in going because of the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, which is a world-class institution and has masterpieces by every well-known American artist. And it's increasingly covering art by indigenous peoples and people who are less represented in major museums around the world, people of color, LGBTQ artists, and they're about to unveil their expansion, which will provide 65% more gallery space than they already have. And it is an absolutely fantastic museum. The architecture, the structure is gorgeous, and the artwork inside is just astounding. And it's surrounded by beautiful green areas. In fact, they have what they call the Greenway in Bentonville, and they have art trails. So there's a lot of public art outside that you can also see. The other thing that surprised me about Bentonville, speaking of wellness, is that they're the mountain biking capital of America.
Interesting. I
And
thought it would have been in Oregon or Washington State or even Utah, where I love to so much.
yeah, they've got, I think they told me 42 miles of trails that are not accessible by car, only bicycles. And then, of course, there are bicycle trails through the city, down the Greenway, up in the mountains. It is a trail-rich environment. It truly is. And for all levels, from family rides to, world-class people come to Bentonville to ride mountain bikes, and they do Bike Fest every year in the summer where people compete on these crazy obstacle courses, which we had a chance to see. But I was particularly blown away by the art, the commitment to accessibility for the arts. And you'll find that not just at Crystal Bridges and the Frank Lloyd Wright Usonia House, which is right on that same piece of property that you access through the Greenway and the art trail, but also the murals downtown are spectacular. A lot of public and private buildings have fabulous art collections that the public is welcome to just go in and enjoy.
A lot of people don't realize that Walmart really emanates from Arkansas. And so there's been a lot of philanthropy. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of really wonderful donations for the arts.
And the Walton family has underwritten an enormous amount of public art. The Alice Walton has just underwritten a new medical school in Bentonville called the Alice Walton
And it has
School.
a museum too. The medical
Pardon?
center has a museum too. Great deal of
Yeah.
art there. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. So the Waltons have been extraordinarily generous to their community because that's one of their key values is creating community, creating access to the arts and creating accessibility for all voices to be seen and heard.
Very much so. We'll be very excited for Juneteenth when we're going to be covering history, integration, segregation, music, another whole different area of Arkansas, which is Pine Bluff, because there's so much more to see than you think. And really, that's our job, you and me, Jeanne, to
Exactly.
open up the door that maybe has been closed or that nobody even thought of opening when it comes to travel, which is so beautiful. We come back, we're going to just pick your brain now for your favorite places, the best travel experiences you've had, particularly with regard to wellness, other than what we discussed. and where you're going next. So don't you guys go anywhere because I think you see that this really has become, at least for today, a travel show. And we'll be right back to tell you more. One of the things that you've told me over and over again is that your biggest barrier to travel is money. What else is new? Well, we have now affiliated and partnered with all the booking sites that you would be interested in. That's booking.com, that's hotels.com, that's Expedia, that's guides, get your guide, and of course, TripAdvisor, the big one. So if you are going to be booking, you're going to want to use the links that we provide for you because there are discounts there. There's also ease and convenience. It also does something for all of us. It is true, yes, I get a small donation in the event that you book through any of these sites, but I plow it right back in so that we can have more research, more clout in the world of anti-ageism and tourism, and get you even more discounts. So please use these because it'll be good for you, and it'll be good for your family, and it really puts a lot more money in your pocket and makes life easy. How do you do that? Well, you simply go to our discount page on agelesstraveler.com/discounts. You'll see that also in the show notes. So use it and never stop traveling. And this is Adrienne Berg, and this is the Ageless Traveler. And we're closing some loops here today. We're speaking about the Tyrol. We're speaking about wellness travel. We're speaking about Arkansas. And we're speaking with a travel journalist who is a real veteran travel journalist who has, through her Travel Talk, shared experiences, places to go, hints and tips that you'd never know about, is offering everybody who's listening a free newsletter, Travel Talk. Please do take a look at our show notes. It'll show you exactly how to subscribe. Her name is Jeanne. I like to say Jeanne Neylon Decker, and I'm so happy to hear where you're going next and maybe some of the experiences that you consider your best. And this is the way I like to ask that question. If you could wave a magic wand and go back to something that you've loved, where would you go?
Oh, Adrian, there are so many places that I would return to. But, well, the Dolomites I do continue to return to. I think
Right.
this is my sixth or seventh trip coming up in the fall. But I'm going to go back this year. In fact, next week. I'm leaving for London on Sunday, and I haven't been out of the airport there in quite some time. But what I'm really looking forward to is a trip to Normandy right after London. And it was an interesting experience. We were in Strasbourg in the fall, and we were in a little local restaurant, Sunday dinner. They had the table set for four. They took away the two place settings. Minutes later, they came back, put the two place settings down, and sat another couple at our table.
Uh-huh.
Which
Interesting.
was kind of a surprise, but it turned out that this lovely French couple were in Strasbourg because he collects vintage timepieces, and they were there for that. He asked when we had plans to come to France, and we said, "Well, yes, we're going to be going to Normandy in the late spring, early summer." And he said, "Well, we live in Normandy. We would love to show you around and spend some time with you." So he gave us their contact information. We've stayed in touch. And so we've booked a room in a small hotel that his wife's cousin owns. So we're going to be staying there. They're going to join us for dinner one of the nights. So we'll be fortunate enough to get a really local perspective as well as the historic tour of the beaches that we're going to be doing when we're there. And then we're going to return to Paris because we're celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary. And it all started in France for us. So we're going to meet up with some Quebecois friends there and spend some time. And then we're going to go down to Reims and have some champagne because what's a celebration without champagne? And then after that, we're going to move on to Flanders, and we'll be spending some time in Antwerp and Ghent, which are two new locations for me. I've been to Brussels and Bruges, but not Antwerp or Ghent. So I'm excited about discovering those destinations. And then we go on to Amsterdam.
So that's a beautiful trip and some of my favorite places. But I have to say, for grandparents, I have had a wonderful time with my son in Antwerp. We spent quite a bit of time there. We enjoyed it very much. And my husband had a wonderful time with my son in Normandy, visiting the beaches and understanding the history. So those are two really excellent places. One for somebody like my son who was a natural historian, and that's Antwerp. There's so much to know and do, in addition to Amsterdam, in addition to other parts of the Netherlands. But for grandparents, and particularly, I have to say, grandfathers, taking a young person to Normandy is really quite something. In this case, it was son and father, but grandfather and grandchild is also a wonderful trip. And everybody's wondering from what you said to us a minute ago, how many months or weeks out of the year, or how frequently do you travel?
I'm gone about 22 weeks of the year.
Yeah, that's about the same. And people do wonder about the life of a travel writer, or in our case, we call ourselves travel journalists, podcasters. It's about that. It's definitely about that. You want to be 4, maybe 5 months, and that's a wonderful lifestyle. I love it. You love it, and it comes out. So I really want to thank you for all of this. It's been a wonderful journey, and almost like a peripatetic journey through so many different places and so many different thoughts.
My last story was about going to the public baths in Bentonville, which is another element of wellness that we don't really experience here in the US, particularly in the textile-free zones, which the
Yes.
Germans are not a very self-conscious people at all. They're, quite comfortable with that. And it was very interesting to be in the public baths with everyone from toddlers to octogenarians, all just enjoying the different pools and saunas and just relaxing in this spectacular setting, in a park setting with the thermal waters that the Romans actually discovered there and built their own baths on that same site. And you can also visit those 2,000-year-old Roman bath ruins while you're in Baden-Weiler.
You know, it's interesting. The first time I took a public bath in Europe, I was very young. I was probably in the early 70s. I know my husband was with me, so we were married. He did not go. It was actually the old Soviet, it was Eastern Europe on the. So for 50 cents, I think, they gave you 3 towels, one harder than the other. I mean, these towels could rip your skin off, Jeanne. But the beds themselves were the old Roman style with statuary and with dragons spitting water, beautiful concrete dragons. So, but it costs next to nothing, and everyone is welcome. They did not think of it as a spa. This is something you do all the time. And it was so important to understand that this wasn't special. It's just the way people were, and was great. I also have done saunas in Scandinavia where there are no clothes.
Correct.
And in fact, it would be looked at strangely if you did have clothes.
It's prohibited. They have signs everywhere. Textile free zone, no swimsuits. And I had an experience where I guess I wasn't getting undressed quickly enough, and the woman came over and tapped me on the shoulder and pointed to the sign, like, you're not going in that sauna with a swimsuit on. You don't have to be completely naked. They have sauna towels, which are very lightweight, and you are required to sit on a towel. If you don't care to wrap yourself in one, you should have one under your derriere and another small towel to put under your feet, because you will not be wearing your flip-flops or sandals in the sauna either.
I'm doing a piece on geothermal, like we did have actually in Hot Springs where I went, which is why I selected that part of Arkansas. Geothermal experiences. And I just came back from the Azores. Now, the Azores are interesting. You do wear clothes or a bathing suit, really not clothes, but a bathing suit, even though these geothermal pools are really in the wild. There's only one or two that it has a man-made structure, but the other ones are mineral rich, and you're sitting really under trees in waterfalls and in natural pools, and yet you wear a bathing suit. So it's interesting to get the different, I would say, temperature, the culture, not just the temperature of the water.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
I've been to Saturnia also, which is very well known in Italy for its geothermal springs and water. And there are a lot of very elegant spas, but there's also a public, well, we'll call it the public Saturnia experience, where you drive down a dirt road, grab your towel, hike in, throw the towel over the fence, and then you climb into these marvelous travertine baths that have been created by nature over thousands and thousands of years. And there's a natural waterfall that is very robust. The only thing is that you will take away with you quite an aroma in your hair
Yes.
afterwards. So I always caution people, wear a swim cap if you can, and don't bring your brand new suit. Bring a bathing suit that you don't mind if it gets a little sulfury smelling.
Right, right.
That was also a great experience. And last spring, I went to Eugenie de Bain, to the Pré de Eugenie, which also is the site of some remarkable thermal waters. And it's one of the first Relais and Chateau properties in that group. And it boasts not only three restaurants, but one of them has had three Michelin stars since 1978. One of them, their casual restaurant, got one last year. And then they have the farm where they do, very hearty kinds of food. And it was owned by Michel Gerard and his wife. And he's, a world famous French chef. It passed away now, but his daughters run the property, and it is just absolutely spectacular. And it's all about wellness. It's the kale and clay baths that you climb in and you just automatically start floating, and your skin feels like velvet when you come out. And it was just a remarkable experience, and that was at Eugenie de Bain.
Well, it sounds like something I really do want to hop on a plane and do and intend to. So, for everybody who's listening, this is exactly what I had planned when I thought about having a podcast, to bring people who have been there. Not something written by AI, but something written from the heart of a true journalist. And I thank you so much for this. We'll have all the references on the side there, and you can send us pictures if you would like. See what we can do to have that on our next Travel Tuesday newsletter as well. This is so inspiring. I think everybody is ready to go. And for everybody out there, you know what I'm going to say. I say it every week. Please go to agelesstraveler.com. Please get our free Travel Tuesday newsletter. It incorporates all these wonderful references. Please listen to our podcast. Join our free Facebook salon. It is private salon. Just go to agelesstraveler.com and you will be able to click on to both registration for our newsletter and to join our salon. And otherwise, never stop traveling.